Hey, Shalon Winter here. Today's video is going to go over my favorite trade setup, the LRE. It stands for low risk entry. It's a part of a simplicity trade based on the Apex trading system using their tools. And I'm going to dive in. I'm going to explain what I'm thinking, what I'm looking for, and basically give you everything that I do whenever I'm looking for these trade setups. They're my favorite. They're the only trade setup that I really take. So stay tuned and let's get into it. All right, so to start off, here is our risk disclosure. Of course, know what you're doing before you do it. Trading is risky. You can lose all your money. Okay, so you can go ahead and pause the video if you like and read over all of that. But just know what you're doing and know that you can lose your money. All right, so what I'm going to do is go over a couple things first and foremost about simplicity and LRE. Okay, so this trade setup is based on the Apex system. So you do, full disclosure, you do have to have the Apex tools. You have to be one of their members, paying members to use their software. Know the system. That's the system I trade. And also, what I'm going to go over in this video is not necessarily the exact views of Apex investing. It may align with a lot of what they say. This is not their opinion. I don't work for Apex. I am just using their tools, and I am a trader myself. So just want to get that out of the way, just so nobody gets that conflicted. And this that you're looking at here is what's called the simplicity chart. Okay. Many of you know what the simplicity chart is. Some of you don't. So first and foremost, you have to know what the simplicity chart is. You have to know the entry and the exit. That's the main thing. To take LREs or simplicity trade, you do need to know how to read the sniper charts. What is the sniper charts? Let me grab this one here. Okay. This is a 10 tick sniper chart. I'm going to go over YM today, and I'll explain why in a minute. But you have to learn how to read this. If you don't know how to read this, then I suggest you go to apexinvesting.com, sign up for their free 30-day bootcamp. No credit card needed, no debit card needed. You can learn their tools. They hold nothing back. Learn how to read this. And then you get another 30 days for $1. So basically you get 60 days for $1 of learning to see if this is even for you. And if it is, great. You'll learn how to read the market using a chart like this. Once you know how to read the market, then you can do what I'm going to go over in this video. Okay, so let me do this also. Let me, here. Okay, let me pull up this notepad. Just so you know, I trade mostly NQ in the pre-market, right? So you need to know this. My profit goal for NQ pre-market for one trade, we're not talking about for the day, per trade, I'm going for 20 ticks or 5 points. Same thing. It's the same thing. 20 ticks is 5 points. Okay? That's my profit goal per trade. My loss, stop loss, is, you guessed it, 20 ticks or 5 points. That's pre-market. So it's basically a 1-to-1 ratio. Okay, I lose 20 ticks or I make 20 ticks. Every now and then, if the market's moving faster, if there's a good target, I'll go for more. But this is what my ATM is set to. Okay, now NQ during, let's just say, after, I can't type. After the open, go for 40 ticks. Or 10 points. I should have had this ready, but it's okay. Stop loss is still 1 second. Got a dog barking. So my stop loss is also like the normal pre-market, 20 ticks or 5 points. Okay. Now, the reason why I'm also showing YM is because I could go over NQ in the pre-market. That's what I normally trade 1 hour before the open. But the problem is a lot of people don't trade that time. A lot of people trade the open. So I want to show these setups while, during normal market hours. And for that reason, if I do trade during the open, I go to YM because right now NQ is a bit crazy. And as you can see, if I stick to 20 ticks or 5 points, a hard stop on NQ right now after the open, I mean, that could get hit pretty easily. And they'll still win. The problem is you got to have a bigger stop loss sometimes. And I like to stick with my money management, And by the way, if you haven't seen that video about my money management plan, go check that out. There's going to be a little link pop up. You can click that. But so what I'm going to put here is YM. And this is for pre-market or after the open. It's the same thing. It's both. It's the exact same thing as NQ pre-market that I go for. Because YM, we know, does not move as much as NQ, right? Now, after the open, what I'll do is if I have a nice target, I'll set like a 40 tick target. And then once it passes or hits 20 ticks, I'll either go to break even or try to secure, kind of manage my trade. And I'll go over that in a minute. But basically, once it goes to 20 ticks, I'll move to break even only if I have a nice target. And then once it moves to 30 ticks, maybe I'll go and secure my 20 ticks and hopefully, it'll go hit the target at 40 ticks. So I'll do that. So I just wanted to preface the video by saying, this here and why I'm showing you NQ right now. Okay. So this is the simplicity chart. 1 second. I have a little something extra on here. Let me take it off so I don't confuse anybody. And it doesn't do any, it's nothing extra that anybody needs or anything like that. What I'm doing is I have the VWAP on there just so I can see. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. It's really nothing. I just like to have it as a reference to know where that is on the market. So basically, I just took it off because it really has probably less than 1% effect on my trading, to be honest. Okay, so that was those lines that you saw, those thick lines. But first, we're going to go over the simplicity entry. You must know what that is. A simplicity entry is, let me move this to the cursor. Okay, when you have, we obviously see two lines here, right? So when the lines are angled both in the same direction, the same color, then we have what's called a setup bar. So if you look here, they're both red because red is for short. They're both red. This bar, they're both angling down, right? It's angling down right here. And it's not where it's at in the middle. It's actually where the bar is. Okay, so they're angling down right here where the bar is. So what that means is when this bar closes and it goes on to the next bar, if it breaks the low of this bar here and continues short, then we have an entry, would be right here below this bar. And then that's an entry that's called a simplicity short, and then it'll run down. And an LRE is before I say that, when you exit, the exit for simplicity is when the bar closes on the other side of this solid line that you see here, right? So if we're following this, okay, right here, we got both angling down. So if the next bar just goes below this one, it doesn't have to close, doesn't have to do anything like that. If it just goes below, that's an entry. So there we have an entry. And then once the price goes above and closes, the bar closes up on the other side of this solid line, that's when you exit. So at this point, you're still in, you're still in. It came up to the line, didn't go. Now, perfect example, it went past the line, right? But the bar closed down there, so you're still in. So that's why the simplicity trade, you keep your stop loss about 5 points or so behind this solid line so it doesn't come knock you out and then go down. So here you'd still be in, still be in. Again, hit the line, didn't close behind it. Same thing, still in. Now, even though this one came up here, it didn't close because the bar closed down here. So the solid line, even though it's stopped, you still imagine it as if it's right here. You still treat it like it's right there. Okay? So it's going. Let's move this out of the way. There we go. Still going. It still hasn't closed above this last, where the solid line was last. Okay, up there it goes. Now it closed up here. So you're out. Okay, you're out. So ultimately you would have wanted to take profit down here. If not, you would have barely made a little bit, because remember our entry was back here. So that's a simplicity trade. Simple as that. That's why it's called simplicity. But then other factors come into play, of course, of should you take it, should you not, a lot of different things, because you don't take every single one of them. Okay, so now let's scroll backwards and tell you what an LRE is. That's a simplicity. Okay, so let's say, okay, we identified the entry, so we know we're in a trend, simplicity down. And an LRE is called a low risk entry because what we're doing is we're entering on a pullback of the simplicity trend. Okay, because the trade is a trend, so when it pulls back, where do we enter? When the price gets within 2 points of the solid line of the previous bar. So right now, this is our current bar, right? When price gets within 2 points of the previous bar line. So it'd be right here. Okay. So we're watching. Now, it got up to the solid line, but is this an LRE? No, because it's the previous solid line, right? The previous bar. So you'd want it to pull up to this area. Okay. Now we have an LRE. Because it didn't make it here. It would have come down a little bit here. Then it shot up. And the previous bar is here. So we would, as soon as it's making its way back up here and it hits to this area, boom, I'm hitting the sell button. So I'd be in right here. Let's say that's 886. Okay. So that means at 906 is my stop, which is way up here. And that seems like a far distance right now because this is pre-market. This is 6:30 in the morning. So it's not going to have a big stop because it doesn't move as much. But I'm just showing this for example. Okay, so then you enter in short right here. And then you want to take it 20 ticks down. So 66 would be to take profit down here. Okay, so then it comes down. Okay. Now, let's say you missed this one, or it wasn't a good one to take. It came down here. Here's another LRE. Okay, pulled back up, saw the line of the previous bar. You'd enter right here to go short. As soon as it's coming up, it hits this solid line of the previous bar. Bam, you hit sell. And see if it goes down to win or not. In this case, it didn't go to win. And I'm just showing you the rules of entering an LRE. Okay. I'm not looking at the 10 tick or 30 tick chart or anything else right now to tell you whether or not I'm taking this trade or not, this LRE. And because the way I take them, I'm mainly looking at the 30 tick and 10 tick chart to tell me whether or not I want to take an LRE, where I want the LRE, not the simplicity chart. I know a lot of people get fixated on watching the simplicity chart and just waiting for it to pull back to the solid line. And this trade is that good to where you'll probably win a whole bunch of them if you only did that. But because of my money management plan and how, what I'm going for every day, I like to limit myself to a maximum of 3 trades. I like to have 2 profitable trades win, and I'm done. So I go for 40 ticks a day because anything more than that, it's usually leads to bad discipline for me, and it's just not good. So I like to limit my time in the market. I don't like to lose. Because of that, I look for the best setups. So now I'm going to combine it with, now that you know what a simplicity is, what an LRE is, I'm going to combine it with the sniper charts. Okay. So what I'm doing, by now, if you're watching this and taking LREs, you should know what ODD is, HD, what the mini magnets are, walls, all that good stuff, flux levels. If you can see here, I got the LRE indicators. Pretty awesome. So what I want to do, which by the way, LREs combined with LRE confirmation, oh yeah, those are great. So what I want to do is I want to point out something that I really look for when I'm taking an LRE. Because what do we know that I just went over about LREs and simplicity? It's a trend, right? So kind of what I look for as soon as I sit down on the day and I'm looking at the charts, kind of seeing what's going on. First thing I'm really doing is saying to myself or the video, are we in a trend or are we ranging? And if we're ranging, is it ugly? Kind of what is the market conditions looking like right now? So as you can see, let's just pretend I just sat down. It's 8 a.m. Right? So about the time I normally start. What do we have here? If I'm looking here, would you call this a trending market or a ranging market? It's not quite trending. Now, if you look all the way left here and say, well, the price is all the way back there, down here, now currently it's all the way up here, it's trending up. Well, yeah, technically. But between there, let me pull this up 1 second. Okay. What do we have here? What do you see there? If I'm looking back, if I'm currently here, or even, back here. Prime example. Okay. I love seeing this. You hear it all the time. You gotta look left to trade right. Right? So that's why, there's a lot of times I'm looking back and seeing where I want my LRE to happen, my trade. And sometimes it's, doesn't happen for 10 minutes later, but I already have an idea. So if you look at the market here, it came up, it's choppy, nasty, ugly, couldn't break this area, right? Pulled back down, couldn't quite break this area, short. Let me bring my cursor up on here. Couldn't break this area, short, right? We have a deviation. So at this moment, you could really say, and then it came back up to there again, up here. Look how many times it couldn't break this wall and kind of get past this zone, right? It's a zone because nothing is ever exact in trading or in the market. So it's kind of a zone. Couldn't break it. Down below, couldn't break it. So I'd consider this kind of a top or resistance, this a bottom or support, whatever you want to call it. I say a lot of times I say tops and bottoms just because it's easier So what do we know? It couldn't break it. What happens here? Comes back down. You can see a shift in the pattern too. Came back up, chop, 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 kind of went up, broke down, couldn't break, clean run up, didn't range all the way back down, you know. So I also look for a lot of higher highs and lower lows. So if this leg is coming up, stopped, up, it didn't go higher, but it didn't go lower. So it had a higher low, went up higher, higher high, and then a higher low. And then it kind of consolidated here. Couldn't break, right? Came back down. What did it do? Laid a mini magnet, broke through. Now it couldn't break through this deviation and wall, right? So this is the next point of resistance. I'm always looking for support and resistance within short periods of time. Okay, so now couldn't break it, came down, came back up, couldn't break it, left a mini magnet here and a mini magnet on the 30 tick. That's what that dotted line is on top of this mini magnet. Came back down, came back up. By the way, we had a lower X right there. And it won. Came back up, came back down, couldn't. But see, as it came back down, this was previous resistance zone. Now that might be the new support, because typically what always happens is previous resistance becomes new support and vice versa. Previous support becomes new resistance. So I'm always looking for that, because whenever it breaks out like that and it pulls back down to test that previous resistance, many times there's an LRE there. And if it is, I usually take it and it usually wins. Beautiful. I love those. So now if we're looking at it, right, this previous resistance area became new support. It's not breaking it. And now we have a new resistance area, which is up here. New resistance area, which is up here. And that's why a lot of times I say tops and bottoms make it easier. This was a previous top. This was a bottom. Now it's shifted. We have a new top up here and a new bottom, right? Couldn't break it. So I like to point that out, because if I just sat down here and I'm getting ready to trade and I look and I identify this, I say, oh, okay, that's what we have. Okay, now before I take an LRE, what do I want? Because do I want to take an LRE in the middle? If this is a range, top and bottom, do I want to take an LRE in the middle? No, because it's not trending. The only way that I'll take an LRE if it's not a breakout, if the market's just already trending really well. And in this instance right now, it is not. It's not trending really well. And you can identify that. So now what I want, is it a breakout long or a breakout short down here? And then once it breaks out, either way, a pullback to test those areas along with an LRE. Those have such high probabilities, it's ridiculous. So I'll fast forward it here, go forward, and see, it wanted to break out, but look, we had ODD, so it might be a false breakout. But then it came down, laid a mini magnet, and shooting up. Now we have a breakout. So now I would be looking for an LRE. I have not reviewed this to see what happened, or if there was even an LRE or a trade there on the simplicity chart. But let's see. Let me go to the simplicity chart, see where we are. We're at about 9:30. Well, and also I was going to show you after the market opened. But I'm just curious now, because this thing is running up, it looks like. Okay. I'm going to put these side by side. So we see the breakout, right? So this is one way I take the LREs. This is shooting up. This is the same thing, okay? So if this is shooting up now, it broke out from this area, and I see it going up. Where do I mean, any pullback, really. I love a pullback to happen at this top where this was, this top zone, to come back and test it. It doesn't always. Sometimes it'll just run up to, very far and not even come back. But if it runs up too far, sometimes I don't want it to come all the way back, because then it could be a shift to go, start a short trend again. So, but as it's coming down, I'd be looking for, a level or something HD to tell me that, hey, it's going to stop there and continue back long. So get a little coil chop there. Now, let's see. It looks like it hits the dev. Let's go over to the simplicity chart. Yep, hit the dev there. Left a mini magnet with a 30 tick mini magnet. Okay. Now we have here. Let's see. Let's see if I would take this. It pulls back. The previous bar would be here, so it didn't quite make it. Okay, so let me backtrack this real quick to show you. Here's our current bar. Previous bar solid line is right there, correct? So that would be at this wall right about 978. So as this is going up, we're back here. The market's going up, right? I'm already, and this is going up. As this is going up, I keep measuring out where would my LRE be? 968, over here. 968. Would I want to take one there? Maybe off this gap level, but then look, we got a wall here and a wall here. We had a little coil chop there. Maybe it might not make it. So I'm waiting. And then, the new one still off this gap level, because it's the previous bar. And by the way, if you have a simplicity chart, I'll show you how to add these dots on there, because the dots are nice because they tell you the price level. Okay, now where do we have it? Like I just said, previous bar would be here, but this bar closed up there, didn't make it. Next bar is coming down, but where do I need it to go? Well, basically this gap level, because that's where the solid line is right here, right? But it closed there, so I didn't make it. Next bar, where would I need it to get in? Right there. 964 would be my entry. So let's see what happens there. As this is coming down, the 10 tick, it leaves this mini magnet up here, kind of pushes off. And I said my entry would be at about 964, which would be here. I don't love this one just because my entry would be under this gap level, under this wall. We have a wall here. I don't love it. It's leaving a mini magnet. It left a mini magnet on top of this wall almost. Mini magnets on top of walls are very strong. I wouldn't take this one. The reason why is because I have these obstructions in my way. It's a very strong long trend. It may work, but I don't love it. Okay. So hits 964. So I'd be in right here at 964. 84 would be my profit right here. Okay. 44 would be my stop. Pretty close to this wall. Do you want to risk a few more ticks to get behind the wall? Maybe, but I think if it breaks this wall, it'll come down and test this top. So I would probably just leave it here below the ZOI. So let's see what happens. It got to 84 on the dot. If you got a perfect fill, you got this win. If you didn't, you took a loss. So you would have got a win on the coil chop if you got in perfectly at 64, which is possible. So you may have got this win, or at least a break even on it. So that's what it is. But again, I wouldn't love that one. So now what do we have? Shooting down, right? Shooting down. We technically have a simplicity short, and it's coming back up. And here you have an LRE off this wall. I'm going to take this off, which would be at right about 940. So let's see if I would take it. Pulls back up here. 940. You're in. It left a nice little mini magnet there. I wouldn't love this one either because it really didn't pull back. You know, had a big, strong run down. Actually, you know what? This is not the same trade. No. This is going to be this pullback here, right here. So that's not even it. Let's go further. Okay, this one. Now we're here. I don't like the fact that it laid this mini magnet on this wall. I can't tell if this would be, no, it won't be HD or nothing. Didn't pull back enough. But you do have a Paul mini magnet and wall here. You could get in 940, let's say. So that means your target is 920, and then 960 is your stop back here. This one, I don't, this is a pretty decent one. I don't love it because you had some big bars shooting down. You hit this bottom. Because if you look back, well, actually that was the previous resistance. And then I also look at the 30 tick as well. But you can see with the copier what's going on here. But if you look at the 30 tick, we are in a nice trend long, right? That's pretty nice. It's coming down. It's not HD, but it's leaving this magnet on the deviation level on the 30 tick also. So that's telling me this is probably going to keep going up, which you can see that it did. But here it might be enough to get yourself a little scalp, but it depends because when it's live too, you can see the volume, or see the volume a lot better than when you're looking at the replay or chart review, because in this case, you don't know how strong these are running. It looks pretty strong here because you got some big bars going down, but let's see if this one would work. Okay, you're in, and nope, that one you'd get knocked out. You see, that's what I was saying about this is you had the big bars coming down strong, and then you left this mini magnet on top of this wall. So that's not good. You left a green eye zone telling you, that's a support level. But like I said, when I'm looking at this 30 tick chart, what do we see? We see a nice trend up. It's strong trend. And then this, leaving this mini magnet with a cluster on top of this deviation level. And this is telling me, hey, we're going up. We're going back up at least to the deviation or mini magnet here for sure. Okay. So that's mainly what I'm going to look for. Just to recap real quick. I'm looking for areas, tops and bottoms, higher highs, lower lows. Okay. This is technically HD right here. Because it went up, pulled back, went up. You had a pullback here, didn't make a lower low. Still a higher low, barely. Went way up, pulled way down. You had a couple little coil chops, but it didn't go lower than the previous one, and it had 229%. It's pretty big here, but so you really want to take a short against this, and especially because it laid this on the 30. So you got to watch for that. Okay. So tops, bottoms, and it's, look, it's perfect example. this was the resistance, like I mentioned. Kind of broke, went way up, broke out, came back down, tested it. Exactly the top. Okay. Now, what would have been nice is if somehow there was an LRE long right here. That would have been nice. But this leg created a simplicity short with a little pullback here. So now what I'm looking for, we're trending pretty good. So now we're making it back up here. So we have resistance up here, support down here for the moment. Let's see where it goes. Chopping, breaking out. So as this is chopping, I'm not looking for a trade right now. Okay. See, this goes up. So right here, I mean, I'm not looking for a trade. Where I'd want to trade, because what do I know now? We have a new top. It's not really a good trend. I want it to break out. It didn't give, a nice long trend. It kind of went up, kind of, back down here. It's creating a big range. It's what it's doing. Big range. So then it's chopping here. You can see on the 10 tick, just chop, breaks out. Now that we're breaking out, let's see what we do on the simplicity chart here. Breaking out. Now we're going long. Okay. Still, it's just pretty choppy, you see? Look, that's pretty choppy. I'm not really looking to take anything there. See, it's pretty choppy. Okay, now we have a breakout. It's going. There's a nice trend. Big trend. Big bars. But now we're trending. So if we're trending now there's not going to be any tops or bottoms for me to look at or anything like that, right? So what I'm looking for is I want to pull back, preferably with some HD, or trying to lay a mini magnet somewhere, or pulling back to a level, something to tell me it's going to bounce and go. Okay. So as this is coming up, I'm looking at areas. If I'm looking at areas of where I want it to go, okay, well, first area is this wall, maybe down here, this ZOI, then we got the walls down here. We have some areas that it could bounce from, So let's see. It gets close to the wall, pulls back. Oh, we have an LRE right here off this top wall. Off the top wall, it's pulling back, and you can see here it's building up HD. As it's coming down, you see the buildup. So I'm going to get in right here at this wall. So I'd be in right at the wall. And then look what it did. Gave a TX with a LRE trade. Beautiful. I don't know if it's going to win. I haven't seen the market. But we have HD, TX, LRE, LRE at the wall. So let's say we got in at 31,215. We need 235 for profit. 95 right here. 195 is our stop. So it's below this. This is beautiful. This to me is just beautiful. We have a wall we're going off of. We have our stop is behind the ZOI. Target. Now you got to look. We have 3 clusters right here, right? So if our target, if we got in at 15, let's just say, for example, because here's another note. Even though this is pulling back and our solid line is here at 31,220, which would be right here, typically if it gets this close to a wall, it's not going to just stop right there and go up. It's going to come hit the wall and go up. So in that case, I just wait and I let it hit the wall. And as soon as it hits the wall, I get in. And if it doesn't go to the wall and it just shoots up and misses me, well, then it just misses me. But most of the time, it's going to come down and hit the wall. So I'd be in at 215. It's already at 231, right? So the way I manage my trade, if I'm going for 20 ticks, once it's at 15 ticks profit or more, I move to break even most of the time. Because the last thing I want is for a trade to get into profit at 15, 16, 17, 18 ticks, even one tick away from taking profit, and it doesn't, and it comes back and gets a full loser. That hurts, and that's, revenge trading time and losing all discipline for many people, including myself. I don't like that. So I'd move to break even. See what happens here. Oh, we got the winner. Okay, so we're in. But what do we know? We have a Lorex trade, right? So what could I do? I could, move my profit target to a little bit more. But in this scenario, we have 3 clusters here, so we might not want to go too much more. But a Lorex normal profit target would be right here at 241. So we could go for those 6 extra ticks. And that's kind of in the middle of the clusters, so it's likely to get it. It might not go higher than this because the 3 clusters. But let's see what happens. Oh, there it goes. So we would have gotten, what was that? About 26 ticks on this right here. That's $260 on 2 contracts. That's nice. Or what you could do, another thing, because this also has a Lorex with it. This is beautiful. I didn't even know this was going to happen. So you could have your target up here to this top. Move your target there. And then once you go here, kind of secure your 20 ticks and just see if it keeps running up and just kind of move behind it, trail it. So let's see what happens. It made it up there, but it wasn't pretty. So in this case, if you would have secured your 20 ticks or so, you would have got knocked out, secured your 20 ticks. Or if you liked it so much and really believed in that target, you could have just left it at break even and let it run. And then you would have had a nice, 50 something ticks there. Yeah, that'd have been nice. Definitely one and done. But you would have had to sit through this mess, and that would have been a little stressful. I'm not going to lie. So that's a beautiful one. Textbook right here. Okay. So yeah, that's really, it's that simple, to be honest. I'm waiting if we're trending, where would be an area of a pullback I want, and if it gets there, what kind of confirmations is there to tell me that it will in fact hit that point and bounce and keep going in my favor. In this case, we had HD building up, we had a wall. It just so happens we have a Lorex. It would have, at the time, because I had my audio turned on, it would have said potential setup A, potential setup B, because that's what it's called on there on the audio. And I would have said, oh, this is even more confirmation. I'm in. I'm going. And then if it's not trending already, like I said, we're looking for a range. Where's the tops and bottoms, and then break out from there. That easy. That is all I'm looking for. That's it. So let's see here. See, that went all the way up. And same thing. Let me show you. Same thing on the 30 tick. Let's see if I can find something on the 30 tick here. Oh, it's just trending today. Man, look at that. Let me scroll back. I'm looking for, okay, here we go. Tops and bottoms on the 30 tick. So let's say, for example, this is a clear range, right? It's not going from the bottom left of my screen to the top right, or the top left to the bottom right. It's going from left to right. Clear zone, right? So this is a 30 tick. So I don't, 30 tick is going to be way bigger of a zone. But here's an example. If this is coming down, we have a simplicity trade. It's coming down, hits the bottom. Coming down hits the bottom. There's not one in this case, but coming down hits the bottom, pulls back up for an LRE somewhere in this area to go short. And I'm looking at my 10 tick. I'm like, ooh, here's a short, here's simplicity. This looks good. but it hasn't broke this bottom here. I'm not going to take it. I'm going to wait because it hasn't proven to me that it's going to break it, right? It's just not proven to me yet. Now, everything might line up good. So I'm always watching the 30 tick as well, because if everything looks good on the 10, the simplicity, but we're at the bottom of the 30, you know, if we have a clear top and bottom, we're at the bottom, it hasn't broke yet, I'm not getting in. I won't get in. I want to wait, because the reason why I wait is because now the market's proving to me that, hey, we're going to go now. Until it proves to me, I'm not testing it. So in this case, I'd want it to break this level first, break it, and then give me something nice on the 10 simplicity. And especially if it pulls back to it, even better. So that's how I'm looking at the 30 tick as well. And then on the 30, when it starts trending too, oh, it's beautiful. Okay. So that's it. That's as simple as it is. If you have any questions, you know, leave some comments, reach out. Definitely, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel, like this video. That's really all I have. And then follow the money management. And if you do that, you'll get great results. These trades have such a high win rate, win probability, that, I mean, that's why I love them. And then the ratio is a 1-to-1 minimum. So even if you lose one, even if you make a mistake, you just come back, get the next one, and you're even again. That's what I loved, and that's what helped my discipline. That's what helped my discipline big time. So hope you got something out of this, and if you did, please comment below, and I will see y'all on the next video. Take care.